was just announced that Caitlin Clark will be out a minimum of 2 weeks with a quad injury. Could this injury have been prevented? Can the Indiana Fever win without her? And what does this mean for the WNBA? You guys, there is so much to go over, so let's jump right in. What's up, you guys? I'm Rachel DeMita, and welcome to the Courtside Club. We got the tough news last night that Caitlin Clark has suffered a left quadriceps strain and will be out a minimum of 2 weeks. So in today's video, you guys, I'm gonna keep it short, I'm gonna keep it light because we still don't have so much information about her injury, but I wanted to give you guys my honest reaction to this, kind of what I'm seeing online, what this looks like for the Indiana Fever. Can they win the games that they have ahead? And kind of my hypothesis as to what might be going on behind the scenes. So pretty much the only information that we have so far about the injury itself is from Chloe Peterson. And she said Caitlin Clark's left quad strain is a new injury, I'm told. It is not related to her left quad injury from training camp that forced her to miss the preseason opener. Now, if you guys remember and you saw my vlog, I actually went to that preseason opener game and I almost didn't make it just because my flight got canceled. But as my flight was getting canceled, I also got the news that Caitlin Clark would be sitting out. And this was the first time that we had heard anything about an injury. And some people were even speculating that maybe she just wasn't playing because they wanted to rest her and make sure that she was good to go for the regular season. But it seems like this is something in her left quad and her left leg that she has been dealing with something. Now, the severity of this quad strain, we have yet to find out if it's grade 1, if it's grade 2, but the Indiana Fever have said that she will be out a minimum of 2 weeks. I actually think that it's going to be longer than 2 weeks. With them saying a minimum of 2 weeks, I feel like that's kind of just giving us breadcrumbs, just giving us enough information. And I actually don't think that they're going to give more for the sake of Caitlin, because when a player is injured, if the other team knows that a player is injured, they will go at that player. And it's not even in a malicious intent. They just know if somebody is not 100%, why wouldn't they on offense go at that certain player? Why wouldn't they guard them on a certain side? Like if she's having trouble with her left leg, why wouldn't they guard her and try to make her go left? So because they know that she can't push off of her left leg properly. Like there's a lot of tactics and things that teams can do if they know the extent of an injury. And so that's why I feel like the Indiana Fever are probably going to keep this so tight-lipped, and we're just going to have to speculate until she's back on the court as to what is exactly going on. Now, Chloe says here that it's a new injury, and a lot of fans are not buying that at all. A lot of fans are saying she's had this injury the entire time and she's just been playing, and they're blaming the coach, they're blaming the organization, saying that you've been playing her so many minutes. Why would you do that if you knew that she was dealing with an injury? And I also think that them saying a new injury, it could absolutely be a new injury, but it could also be caused by the old injury. There's so much that happens within your body. If you get an injury one place, you start compensating in another place. Like we have seen athletes who had a certain injury on one leg, and then right when they go back, they injure the other leg. And sometimes it's even worse. Sometimes it's an ACL, sometimes it's an Achilles, sometimes it's a patellar tendon. Like there are so many injuries that can happen when your body isn't working in its perfect mechanics. So with this quad injury, it could be, I mean, there's multiple muscles in your quad. It could have been one of the other quads. It could have been a different part of the quad. Like she might still have that old injury that is still healing at the bottom of her quad. It could be at the top. Like there are so many things. All of this, I would say, I don't think people should be looking into this so closely because we're probably not going to get answers, and we just kind of have to be okay with that. And I think you have to be okay with that because that's actually what is best for Caitlin when she does get back on the court, because you don't want other teams trying to go at her and exploit any weaknesses that she might have. Now, I do want to share with you guys what Coach Stephanie White had to say after practice yesterday about Caitlin Clark's injury. Now, we also saw some footage from practice. Caitlin Clark was not even in the final huddle at the end of practice, so I'm sure that she's rehabbing somewhere. She was maybe at the doctor. We don't know where she is. Again, we're not going to get that information, but I wanted to share with you guys what Coach Stephanie White had to say about her injury.
You know, there's so many things when you think about Caitlin and her not wanting to miss games. Obviously, she's a competitor, wants to play. Obviously, everyone wants to watch her play. But for me, it's maintaining perspective, right? It's making sure that we address this in a way that doesn't affect long term, that we take care of it. Don't over push, don't overexert, making sure that we take the long game approach to this, so that we're not having lingering issues throughout the course of the season. And I'm glad that sometimes great players don't tell you when they're hurting. I'm glad that she did, because we need to nip this in the bud.
They are treating Caitlin Clark like she's the franchise player because she is the franchise player, and you see this across the NBA. They are so much more delicate with their franchise players. At the end of the season is actually when they need her the most, so it seems like here they're just being really cautious, and again, we don't know how bad it is. Now, there have also been some videos going around online where Caitlin has been using like heating packs and ice packs on her legs, not ice packs, but heating packs during the game. And there's also been clips where she's on the bench and she's kind of rubbing her leg. And so it seems like there have been multiple occasions where it had been bothering her and nobody just knew to what extent that was. I will say that I noticed in the last couple games, because I feel like the last 2 games she did not play well. She might have done well statistically, although she didn't shoot well from 3. And I know a lot of people were wondering, why is she in this shooting slump? It seems like now we know. A lot of you guys, when we were in the live watch parties, a lot of you were commenting that she was sick. You could hear it in her voice that she was sick. It seems like at this point, this is the reason why we haven't seen Caitlin at 100%. We haven't seen her as quick as we saw her last season. If you have something going on in your legs, like your legs are actually a huge part of your shooting mechanics, something was thrown off. So if that part of her body was thrown off, it probably threw off the entire mechanics of her shot. I feel like that probably is to blame as to why she didn't have the greatest 2 games. And that's also could be a reason as to why this Indiana Fever team isn't playing as fast as a lot of us expected them to play. And I was actually getting so frustrated with this during my live watch parties, because I was like, everything that you guys told us during the offseason about playing quick, playing with pace, pushing the ball up the court, everyone run, they weren't doing that, especially in the last 2 games. And so maybe that's the reason. And a lot of the times, even when Caitlin would get the ball, she wasn't the one who was full sprinting down the court. And that's what we saw from her last season and even all of her years at Iowa. That's the type of game that she likes to play. But if she was kind of nursing something that was going on, that might be the reason why we weren't seeing them play as fast. And that also might be the reason that Coach Stephanie White was taking her off the ball. And so that's why I've said it in previous videos. I don't think that we should overreact to some things, and a lot of us were getting frustrated, but there was something going on behind the scenes that a lot of us didn't know about. And so I think we just have to keep that in the back of our mind when we're watching any sports. Like, we don't always know what's going on in the locker room, what's going on with this team, but we'll also have to see how they adjust without her on the court. So if we look at the Indiana Fever schedule, their next few games, they have the Mystics, and then they have the Sun, then they have the Mystics again, and then they have the Sky. And the Sky game would take us to about the 2-week mark. I could imagine that she doesn't play in that game probably as much as she wants to play in that game, because, the WNBA has set it up as this rivalry. But if we look, the Washington Mystics were actually the team that the Indiana Fever played against during their first preseason game without Caitlin Clark. They did win that game. It did go into overtime. If you guys want to see my whole breakdown of that game, because I was there in person, then check out that video. But that Mystics team has actually proven to be a pretty tough team, and I have been planning on making a rookies video, because Kiki Ariafen and Sony Citron have actually been playing outstanding for the Mystics, and they have been doing so much better than I could have ever expected them to do. So that actually, I think, will be a tough matchup, but the Fever have already proven that they can beat them. The Sun are not a good team this season, and then they play the Mystics again, which I think will be a tough battle, and then the Sky have proven to be one of the worst teams in the WNBA. Now, after that, they play the Atlanta Dream again, and then they play the Liberty. So we'll just have to see if she does make it back for the Dream or Liberty game. But my gut is saying that we are not going to get much more information about this injury or the timeline until it's probably like a couple days before. Now, I'm also seeing a lot of fans saying that they are just not going to watch, they're not going to go to the games, they're going to sell their tickets because Caitlin isn't playing. And I would urge you guys to not do that. I had such a fun time watching this Indiana Fever team without Caitlin. Like, there was never a thought in my mind that I wasn't gonna go just because she wasn't playing. And I get it. Sometimes those tickets are so expensive. It's the only time of the year that you could go. But I would say if you are an Indiana Fever fan, get out there to the game. Watch how this team plays without her. It was so exciting to watch. You'll get a little bit of a feel of how the offense runs without her, what players step up. Like we saw in the game that I went to, Sophie Cunningham stepped up big for the team and was really that spark. She scored a lot of points. Lexi got going. DB played well. Like, there are so many things to enjoy about this team and about the WNBA in general. So I would definitely urge you guys to not give up your tickets. Like, go attend the game, watch the game. If after that, if you see the team or the WNBA and you don't like it and you're like, yeah, I'm done, then fine, so be it. But that was definitely disheartening seeing how many people online was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm not gonna watch anymore because of her. I also wanted to bring up this tweet from Christine Brennan. She said, this is such unfortunate news for Caitlin Clark, of course, and the Fever. It's also terrible news for the WNBA, which relies on Clark for so much attendance, viewership, social media, merchandise, in a way no sports league has ever before. I've asked the WNBA for comment. Now, a lot of people were mad about this tweet because they're like, why would you even bring that up? Why would you need to ask the WNBA? But she does have a point here, because as we've seen from the Caitlin Clark effect, there has been so much of an influx in attendance, in jersey sales, and viewership, all the things. We see like the top 20 most viewed WNBA games have all been Indiana Fever games. And so that is something that I'm going to keep an eye on and see how much of a dip that we see. But you guys, it is still so early in the season. And if it is something like a quad, they do want it to heal all the way, so it doesn't turn into something where she has a knee injury because her quad isn't firing properly. Like, this is something, she is the franchise player. Injuries happen. I don't think there's anyone to blame in this because we don't have the information. We don't know how this injury occurred. She doesn't seem to be an injury prone player. She gets ankle sprains here and there, but she has not missed a game since November 28th, 2017, her sophomore year of high school. And this was another thing that Christine Brennan posted. She said, Kristen Meyer, her coach at Dowling Catholic High School, told me for her book on her game that Clark had a badly sprained ankle and it about killed her not to play. So that is probably the same scenario here. My hope for her is that she just takes the 2 weeks, mentally focuses, makes sure that she gets her body right. But injuries happen. This is not something that I believe came off of a hard foul, but this is also something like, we will see how much in general this affects the WNBA in the next 2 weeks. We'll see how much it affects the Indiana Fever. If they can win without her, I think they can. I think they have 2 tough games in the Mystics game, and the Sky game will also probably be tough just because the Sky probably want to win more than anything after that 35-point loss during their first matchup. But that's pretty much all I have to say on that, you guys. We shouldn't be overreacting to all of this, and I'm seeing a lot of that online. I get it. It sucks, but hopefully it's just 2 weeks and she'll be back and the Indiana Fever can figure out some things in the meantime and hopefully go out and win some games. But obviously, you guys, let me know all of your thoughts in the comments below. Thumbs up this video if you enjoyed it and click that little subscribe button because we upload new videos every single week. And with that, you guys, I'll see you next time. Ooh,